Jack Weaver leaned back in his chair, staring at the swirling, holographic interface in front of him. The sign-up for Galactic Matchmakers Inc. was just a whim, a late-night decision fueled by too many solitary nights on Earth. But now, as the countdown to his first match dwindled, his heart raced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Jack Weaver, your match has been selected," the mechanical voice chimed, and a hologram of an alien woman appeared. Her skin shimmered with iridescent hues, and her eyes were like twin galaxies. Her name was Lyra, from the planet Zenthra, known for its cerebral, logical inhabitants. "Wow," Jack muttered to himself. "She's stunning." At the spaceport, Jack waited, his palms sweaty. Lyra emerged from the shuttle with an elegance that seemed both alien and timeless. She scanned the crowd with an analytical gaze until her eyes met Jack's. She approached with the grace of a diplomat, her movements precise. "Jack Weaver, I presume?" Her voice was like crystals clinking, clear and sharp. "Yes, that's me, and you must be Lyra. It's incredible to meet you," Jack said, offering his hand. Lyra looked at it, then gently touched it, her skin cool against his. "I've studied human customs. Shaking hands signifies greeting or agreement. Is this correct?" she asked, her tone almost clinical. "Exactly. And, it's also nice to smile," Jack said, giving her his best grin. Lyra's lips curved into what he guessed was her attempt at a smile. "I see. Smiling. A human expression of happiness or amusement," Jack chuckled. "Let's hope for more happiness than amusement today, huh?" They walked through the bustling spaceport, Jack leading her to his vintage hover car, a piece of human history he was proud of. "This is how we used to travel on Earth before everything went all futuristic," he explained, opening the door for her. Lyra sat down, her eyes scanning the interior with interest. "This vehicle is quaint. It speaks of a time when humans were less about efficiency and more about feeling." "Exactly. Let's add some more feeling to today," Jack said as he started the engine. They drove to a local festival, one of the last places where humans celebrated with old-world charm. The festival was a riot of colors, sounds, and smells. Lyra's eyes widened as she took in the chaos, the music, the dancing. Jack led her to a dance floor where couples swayed and spun. "Do you dance on Zenthra?" Jack asked, offering his hand again. "Not in this manner. Our movements are calculated for efficiency, not this," she gestured at the joyous crowd. Jack laughed, pulling her gently into the dance. "Then let's be inefficient together." He guided her through the steps, his hand warm in hers. Lyra was stiff at first, her movements mechanical, but as the music enveloped them, she began to mimic Jack's rhythm. Their bodies moved closer, and in a moment of spontaneity, their lips brushed during a turn, causing Lyra to pause. "That was unexpected," she said, her voice softer now. "Good unexpected?" Jack asked, his eyes searching hers. "Human emotions are complex, but I find this complexity intriguing," Lyra admitted, her gaze lingering on him. They continued dancing, laughing over missteps, sharing smiles and glances. As the festival lights painted their faces with vibrant colors, Jack felt a connection forming, one that transcended species, logic, and the stars themselves. "Let's do more things together, Lyra. I think there's a lot you could teach me, and I'd love to show you more of what it means to be human," Jack proposed as they left the festival, hand in hand. "I would like that, Jack," Lyra replied, her voice carrying a newfound warmth. And in that moment, under the stars of Earth, a human and an alien took their first steps into each other's worlds, not as a match made by algorithms, but as two beings ready to explore the vastness of each other's hearts. The morning sun was just peeking over the horizon when Jack decided to take Lyra to a local park, a place where nature's beauty could speak for itself. They walked along a path lined with blooming cherry trees, the soft petals falling like snow. "So this is what you call nature on Earth?" Lyra observed, her gaze catching every detail from the dew on the grass to the chirping birds. "Yeah, it's one of the things we cherish here. It's wild, unpredictable, but it's alive," Jack said, picking up a fallen petal and placing it in Lyra's palm. Lyra examined the petal closely. "On Zenthra, we control our environment to optimize efficiency. This randomness is fascinating. Jack smiled. Let's keep the theme of randomness going. How about we do something you've never done before? Lyra raised an eyebrow, a gesture she'd learned from him. And what might that be? Ever tried painting? Jack asked, leading her to a small art studio nearby. Painting? An artistic expression of human emotion and creativity? Lyra's curiosity was piqued. Exactly. Let's make some chaos on canvas. Jack grinned, handing her a brush. They stood before blank canvases with an array of colors at their disposal. Jack, not an artist by trade but enthusiastic, showed Lyra how to mix colors, how to stroke the brush to create different textures. Use your feelings, Lyra. Don't think about it too much. Just feel, Jack encouraged. Lyra hesitated, her brush hovering over the canvas. She then made her first stroke, a bold line of blue, followed by a chaotic splash of red. I'm not sure if this is correct, she said, looking at her work with a critical eye. There's no correct in art. It's about expression, Jack replied, his painting already a mess of colors, meant to mimic an abstract sunrise. They worked side by side, occasionally stealing glances at each other's work, laughing at their mutual lack of skill but enjoying the process. Lyra's painting was precise and structured at first, but gradually became more chaotic, mirroring her internal struggle between logic and emotion. This is liberating, Lyra confessed, her voice filled with a rare excitement. Jack beamed. That's the spirit. Now how about we make something together? He dragged a larger canvas to the center, and they both started working on it. Lyra painted a structured landscape while Jack added vibrant, messy skies. Their hands occasionally brushed, leading to shared smiles and a growing sense of camaraderie. As they stepped back to admire their collaborative piece, Jack said, "Look at us, making art together. Who knew?" It's beautiful, in an odd, chaotic way, Lyra admitted, her eyes reflecting a new light of understanding. You know, Lyra, maybe we're not so different after all. Art, emotions, they're just different languages, Jack mused, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Lyra looked at him, her face softening. Perhaps, Jack Weaver, you are teaching me a language I didn't know I needed to learn. They spent the rest of the day exploring the park, taking turns pointing out aspects that intrigued them. Jack showed Lyra how to skip stones on a pond, and she, in turn, explained the logic behind the ripple patterns. Each moment was a blend of teaching and learning, of laughter and contemplation. As they watched the sunset together, Lyra leaned her head on Jack's shoulder, a gesture so human, so filled with trust and affection. Thank you, Jack, for showing me the beauty in chaos, she whispered. Jack squeezed her hand gently. And thank you for showing me the logic in beauty. Let's keep breaking that ice, Lyra. Jack had always been curious about other worlds, but the invitation to Zenthra was both an adventure and a challenge. As they approached the planet, Lyra explained, Zenthra is not like Earth. Here, every action has a purpose, every word a meaning. Guess I'll have to keep my human spontaneity in check then, Jack chuckled, though he felt the weight of the cultural shift. Upon landing, the contrast was stark. The architecture was all sharp angles and glass, reflecting the sun in ways that made the city look like a crystal labyrinth. Lyra's home was similarly austere, with minimal decor, everything functional. Welcome to my dwelling, Lyra said, the pride in her voice evident. It's very organized, almost like a museum, Jack noted, trying to find a place for his human warmth in this environment. Lyra nodded. On Zenthra, we do not clutter our lives with the unnecessary, but perhaps we can make some room for spontaneity. They decided to start with something simple, cooking. Do you cook on Zenthra? Jack asked, eyeing the sleek, almost robotic kitchen appliances. Not in the human sense. We synthesize our meals for maximum nutritional efficiency, Lyra explained, showing him the food replicator. Let's break that pattern. How about we cook something the old-fashioned way? I'll teach you, Jack suggested with enthusiasm. Lyra agreed, and they ventured to the market, where even the food was displayed with precision. Jack picked up some unfamiliar ingredients, explaining, These look like they could be vegetables or fruit. Let's make a stew. Back at Lyra's, Jack showed her how to chop, stir, and season, narrating the process as if it were a dance. Cooking is like art, Lyra. You don't just follow a recipe, you feel it. Lyra watched intently, her movements becoming less rigid as she chopped alongside Jack. This is unconventional, but I can see the logic in the creativity. They talked as they cooked, Jack sharing stories of Earth's culinary disasters and successes, making Lyra laugh, a sound rare in this logical world. Their stew was a vibrant mix of colors and flavors, nothing like the uniform meals Lyra was used to. When they sat down to eat, Lyra took a cautious bite, her eyes widening. This is complex. The flavors, they blend in a chaotic but pleasing way. Jack grinned. That's the beauty of human cooking. It's not just about nourishment, it's about experience. After dinner, they decided to venture outside, to a park that was more of a controlled environment than a natural one. Here, Jack proposed another human activity, stargazing. Why look at stars when we can simulate them perfectly inside? Lyra asked, genuinely puzzled. Because sometimes, Lyra, the real thing has a magic that no simulation can capture, Jack said, laying out a blanket on the perfectly manicured grass. They lay side by side, looking up at the Zenthra night sky, which was clear and brilliant, unlike anything Jack had seen on Earth. He pointed out constellations, making up stories for each, blending human mythology with what he knew of Zenthra's science. See that one? On Earth, we call it Orion. But here, you might see something else, right? Jack asked. Lyra traced the stars with her finger. In our view, it's part of the logician's hand, symbolizing precision and order. Seems like we both see patterns, just different ones, Jack mused. Their conversation drifted to deeper topics. The balance between logic and emotion, the purpose of life beyond efficiency. Lyra, for the first time, seemed to ponder these questions not as a Zenthra, but as an individual. This day, with you, Jack, it's been a lesson in humanity, Lyra said softly, her gaze fixed on the stars. And for me, a lesson in seeing the beauty in order, Jack replied, taking her hand. Let's keep learning from each other. As they lay there, the boundary between human chaos and Zenthra's order blurred, creating a new space where both could exist, where both could learn, where both could, perhaps, find a new kind of harmony. After their enlightening trip to Zenthra, Jack wanted to share more of Earth's emotional tapestry with Lyra. They found themselves in a small, quaint art gallery in a city known for its vibrant cultural scene. The walls were adorned with paintings, sculptures, and photographs, each piece a burst of human expression. Art, in its essence, is the human soul made visible, Jack said as they entered, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet space. Lyra took in the gallery, her eyes scanning over the canvases. This is overwhelming. So many interpretations of reality. Jack led her to a piece that caught his eye, an abstract swirl of colors. What do you see here? He asked. Lyra studied it intently. I see chaos, but controlled. There's an underlying pattern, yet it's obscured by emotion. Exactly, that's what I love about art. It's not just about what's there, but what it makes you feel, Jack explained, watching Lyra's reaction. They moved from piece to piece, Jack sharing stories behind some of the art, explaining the artists' lives or the historical context. With each artwork, Lyra's analytical approach was slowly giving way to a more emotive one. They stopped before a sculpture, human figures intertwined in a dance. This one, Lyra said, her voice softer, it seems to capture movement, but there's also stillness in their connection. Like us, maybe, Jack suggested with a playful nudge, his smile warm. Lyra's lips curved into a smile. Perhaps, the dance of understanding between different worlds. They continued their tour, stopping at a painting of a stormy sea, where the brushstrokes were fierce and untamed. This one, Jack pointed out, it's about the power of nature, but also the turmoil inside us. Lyra reached out, her fingers hovering just above the canvas, as if she could feel the storm. I've never thought of emotions as a storm before. It's enlightening. How about we try creating our own storm? Jack proposed, leading her to a corner where a small art station was set up for visitors. With brushes in hand, they faced a blank canvas. Let's paint without thinking too much, Jack encouraged. Just let it flow. Their brushes danced across the canvas, Lyra hesitantly at first, then with more vigor as she allowed herself to be swept up by the moment. Jack added bold strokes, mimicking the sea they had just admired. "This is liberating," Lyra admitted, her movements becoming more confident. As they painted side by side, their elbows occasionally brushed, sparking small electric moments of connection. They laughed at the chaotic beauty they were creating, a blend of human and Zenthra perspectives. "This," Lyra said, stepping back to view their work, "is not just art. It's a conversation between our worlds." "And look at the conversation we're having," Jack replied, stepping closer to her. "It's not just about the art. It's about us learning to understand each other better." Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and something akin to human warmth. "Jack, you've shown me that emotions can be as logical as calculations, in their own way." They finished their painting, a wild, beautiful mess of colors, with no clear beginning or end, much like their relationship. As they left the gallery, hand in hand, Jack proposed, "Let's make more things together, Lyra. Let's keep painting our story." "I would like that," Lyra said, her voice carrying a new tone of excitement. "There's much more for me to learn, and much for you to teach." Their day ended with them walking through the city, discussing the art they had seen and the emotions it stirred in them, each step bringing them closer, not just physically, but in understanding, in feeling, in living a shared, colorful life. The sky was a vast canvas of stars when Jack decided to take Lyra camping, an experience quintessentially human. They drove to a remote area where the city lights couldn't dim the celestial show above. "This is what we call getting back to nature," Jack explained as they set up a tent under the sprawling night sky. "Back to nature? On Zenthra, we adapt nature to us," Lyra observed, helping Jack with the tent pegs, her movements still precise but less mechanical. "Here, we try to adapt to nature, to understand it on its terms," Jack said, smiling at her curiosity. Once the tent was up, they built a small fire, its warmth a stark contrast to the cool night air. Jack taught Lyra how to roast marshmallows, an act of pure, simple joy. "Stick it in the fire, not too long, then let it get all gooey," Jack instructed, laughing as Lyra's marshmallow caught fire. "Fire is unpredictable," Lyra noted, blowing out the flame, her face illuminated by the firelight. "That's the beauty of it," Jack replied, showing her how to eat the marshmallow. "Life isn't always about control. Sometimes it's about enjoying the mess." They shared stories, Jack recounting tales of human exploration and adventure, while Lyra shared the calculated discoveries of Zenthra. As the fire dwindled, they lay on a blanket outside the tent, gazing upward. "Look at that," Jack pointed to a shooting star. "Make a wish, Lyra." "A wish? We don't have such practices on Zenthra," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "Here, it's about hoping for something, letting the universe know your desires," Jack explained, closing his eyes briefly to wish. Lyra followed suit, her eyes closed in a mix of skepticism and intrigue. When she opened them, she turned to Jack. "What did you wish for?" "Can't tell you, or it won't come true," Jack chuckled. "But how about we make our own wishes come true?" He leaned closer, his eyes searching hers. The moment was charged with a new kind of electricity. Lyra, understanding the human gesture, met him halfway, their lips brushing in a kiss that was both discovery and affirmation. The kiss deepened, slow and exploratory, as if they were mapping new territories of each other. When they pulled back, Lyra's breath was uneven, a sign of the human emotions she was learning to embrace. "Jack, this feeling, it's not logical, yet it makes sense," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Emotions don't need to be logical to be real," Jack replied, his hand finding hers. "Let's keep exploring this feeling." They moved inside the tent, the intimacy of the space amplifying their connection. As they lay down, their kisses resumed, each one building on the last. Lyra, in a moment of bold curiosity, straddled Jack, her movements initially hesitant, but soon guided by the rhythm of their shared breaths and heartbeats. "Does this feel right?" Lyra asked, her voice a mix of concern and desire. "More than right," Jack assured her, his hands gently on her hips, encouraging her. "Just let yourself feel." Lyra's movements became more confident, the physical act a dance of discovery for both. She trembled not from cold, but from the overwhelming pleasure, a sensation so alien, yet so profoundly human. "This is overwhelming," Lyra gasped, her body responding in ways she hadn't anticipated. "Overwhelming can be good," Jack whispered back, his voice filled with warmth and reassurance. They continued, their connection deepening with each moment, not just physically, but emotionally. As the night waned, they lay together, the sounds of their breathing the only noise in the quiet of the wilderness, a testament to the beauty of blending two worlds, two lives into one shared experience. The morning after their night under the stars, Jack and Lyra returned to the city with a new layer of connection between them. However, as with any relationship crossing cultural divides, challenges lurked beneath the surface of their newfound intimacy. They decided to spend the day at Jack's apartment, planning to cook a meal together, a task now familiar but still ripe for learning. Jack was cutting vegetables while Lyra measured out spices, her precision in contrast with Jack's more relaxed approach. "How do you know when it's enough?" Lyra asked, holding a spoonful of paprika. "Sometimes you just go by feel," Jack replied, grabbing a pinch more of salt and tossing it into the pan. "It's not an exact science." Lyra frowned, a look of confusion crossing her features. "But how can one achieve the desired outcome without exactness?" Jack laughed. "Cooking, like life, isn't always about the destination. It's about the journey. You learn to trust your instincts." As they cooked, a small disagreement sparked. Lyra insisted on following a recipe she had studied, while Jack wanted to deviate, adding ingredients on a whim. "This isn't logical, Jack. The recipe is optimized for flavor," Lyra argued, her voice firm. "And sometimes going off script can lead to something even better," Jack countered, his tone light but firm. Their meal turned out to be a fusion of both approaches, delicious but a clear testament to their differing philosophies. They sat down to eat, the tension slowly dissipating as they enjoyed the fruits of their labor. "See, not so bad, right?" Jack said with a proud smile, savoring a bite. "It's different, but not unpleasant," Lyra conceded, a small smile breaking through. Later, as they cleaned up, a deeper conversation unfolded. Lyra shared her concerns about balancing her Zenthra identity with these new human experiences. "Jack, how do you manage emotions when they conflict with logic?" she asked, washing dishes with a contemplative look. "Sometimes you just have to embrace the conflict. It's part of being human," Jack replied, drying a plate. "We're not always logical, but we strive to be understanding." Lyra paused, considering his words. "Understanding over logic. That's a novel concept for me." They decided to make something together that would symbolize their journey, a small garden on Jack's balcony. They chose plants from both Earth and Zenthra, the act of planting becoming a metaphor for their relationship. "This one," Jack pointed at a Zenthra plant with bioluminescent leaves. "It'll light up at night, like our connection." "And this," Lyra held up a human rose, "a symbol of affection, correct?" "More than that, it's about growth, beauty, and imperfection," Jack explained as they planted it together. As they worked, they discussed their cultures, Jack sharing stories of human resilience in the face of emotional turmoil, while Lyra spoke of Zenthra's pursuit of perfection through logic. "This garden," Lyra said, patting down the soil, "it's our compromise, a place where both can exist, grow." Jack nodded. "Exactly. We're both learning, adapting. And this," he gestured to the garden, "is our little universe, where both our worlds can thrive." As the day turned to evening, they sat watching their tiny garden, the Zenthra plant beginning to glow, casting a soft light over the human roses. They talked, laughed, and planned, their misunderstandings becoming stepping stones to understanding. "It's not about erasing our differences," Jack mused, his hand seeking Lyra's. "It's about growing around them, like these plants." Lyra squeezed his hand, her gaze reflective. "I'm learning that the beauty of life lies in its imperfections, in the emotional chaos that complements logic." They stayed there until the stars came out, each star a reminder of the night before, of the journey they were on together, learning, loving, and living in the space between two worlds. Jack and Lyra had been navigating their unique relationship with a blend of human emotion and Zenthra logic. But a new challenge loomed on the horizon. Lyra received a prestigious offer from Zenthra's Science Council to lead a groundbreaking project on quantum logic, an opportunity that would require her to return home indefinitely. Sitting in Jack's living room, Lyra handed him the holographic message. "It's an honor, Jack, but it means moving back to Zenthra." Jack's heart sank, but he put on a brave face. "That's huge, Lyra. You should be proud. But what about us?" Lyra's voice was laced with a concern she wasn't used to expressing. "We'll figure it out. We always do," Jack said, trying to sound confident. "Let's make this decision together. How about we do something we've never done before?" Lyra looked puzzled. "What do you have in mind?" "Let's build something. Not just any something, but a time capsule. We'll fill it with pieces of our time together, a testament to what we've built," Jack suggested, his eyes lighting up with the idea. They gathered materials, deciding to bury the capsule in the garden they had created together. Each item they chose was symbolic: a dried rose from Earth, a piece of Zenthra crystal, a recording of their laughter, and a note written by both. "This," Jack said, holding up the note, "will be our promise to each other. No matter where we are, we'll remember this." Lyra nodded, her usually logical demeanor softened by the moment. "And what should we write in the note?" Jack thought for a moment. "How about we write down what we've learned from each other?" They sat down, pen in hand, composing the message. From Jack: "I've learned that there's beauty and precision in the calm of logic amidst human chaos." From Lyra: "I've learned the value of emotion, how it can color life in ways logic cannot." They sealed the note inside an airtight container along with the other items. As they dug a small hole in the garden, Lyra's expression was one of contemplation. "If I go back to Zenthra, can we truly maintain this?" she asked, her voice tinged with doubt. "We'll have to redefine together, but yes, we can. We'll visit, we'll call, we'll keep learning from each other. And hey, this garden will grow, like our bond," Jack said, placing the capsule in the earth. They covered it with soil, their hands touching, a silent vow in the act. "Now let's make a pact. We'll meet back here every year no matter what, to plant something new, to check on our garden," Jack proposed. Lyra agreed, a logical plan for maintaining our emotional connection. The day was spent making plans, not just for the time capsule but for their future. They discussed Lyra's project, how Jack could contribute remotely, how they could share their knowledge with each other's worlds. As evening fell, they sat in the garden, watching the Zenthra plant glow. Lyra leaned against Jack, her decision still unresolved but her heart clearer. "Jack, I see now that life isn't just about logical decisions. It's about moments like these, with you, that defy logic but enrich life." Jack kissed her forehead. "And I see that logic can guide us, help us make the most of our time, even when we're apart." They stayed there until the garden was bathed in moonlight, discussing possibilities, laughing over the absurdity of their situation, and yet finding comfort in the promise of their time capsule, a symbol of their commitment to continue growing together, even if from afar. The year following Lyra's departure to Zenthra was filled with long-distance conversations, shared digital notes, and the occasional interstellar trip. But the day had come for their annual meeting at the garden, a moment Jack had been eagerly anticipating. Jack arrived early, tending to the garden, adding new plants to mark their growing bond. He was nervous, wondering if Lyra would still feel the same, if the distance had cooled their connection. When Lyra appeared, stepping through the portal from Zenthra, Jack's worries melted away. She looked different, her attire a blend of Zenthra's sleek design with hints of Earth's vibrant colors. "Jack," she greeted, her voice warm, her smile genuine. "The garden looks beautiful." "It missed you," Jack said, pulling her into a hug that spoke volumes. "So did I." They walked through the garden, Lyra admiring how it had evolved. "You've been busy here." "Yeah, I wanted to show you that we're still growing, even when apart," Jack replied, leading her to where they had buried their time capsule. They dug it up, the act feeling like unearthing a piece of their shared past. Opening it, they found the items just as they left them, but the note they read aloud felt like a new discovery. "Look at what we wrote," Lyra said, her eyes glistening with emotion she'd come to embrace. We've lived these words. And we'll keep living them, Jack assured her. They decided to add new items to the capsule before rebearing it. Jack presented a small, intricately carved wooden box. This is from Earth, made with my own hands. A little piece of human craftsmanship. Lyra added a small glowing orb. This is from my project. It's a light that represents our connection, always shining. As they placed these new tokens inside, they talked about the past year. Lyra explained how her work had changed, how she'd begun to incorporate human methods of creativity into her research, sparking innovation on Zenthra. And you? Lyra asked, sealing the capsule. I've been working on a project too, actually. An interspecies cultural exchange program. Inspired by us, Jack said, pride evident in his voice. I want to bridge our worlds like we've done. Lyra's eyes widened. That's a grand idea, Jack. But what about us? Jack took her hands. I've been thinking a lot about that. How about we make a new home, one that's neither fully Zenthra nor Earth, but ours? Lyra paused, her logical mind analyzing the proposal. A hybrid space? Yes, a place where we can live out this blend we've created. We can work together on my project. You can continue yours and we can learn from each other. Teach others, Jack explained, his vision clear. Lyra was silent for a moment, then a smile broke through. It's not logical, but it's right. Let's do it. Let's build our own world. They decided then and there to start planning this new life, discussing where and how they would build, combining Zenthra's technology with Earth's creativity. They spoke of architecture, of a home with natural light and spaces for both logic and emotion. Let's make it a sanctuary for learning, for love, Jack said, already envisioning the blueprints. Lyra nodded. A place where we can show others how diverse perspectives can coexist and thrive. They spent the rest of the day in the garden, planting new seeds as a symbol of their commitment to this new life. Each seed was a promise, each plant a testament to their growth. As night fell, they sat together, the garden now aglow with Zenthra lights and Earth's moon. Jack looked at Lyra, her face illuminated by their shared creation. This is just the beginning, Lyra, of us, of what we can do together. Lyra leaned into him. And every beginning is a new story, a new adventure. With you, Jack, I'm ready for all of it. They sealed their promise with a kiss under the stars of two worlds, in a garden that was now more than just soil and plants. It was a living symbol of their love, their unity, and the endless possibilities of blending the human heart with Zenthra's mind.